And welcome into Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast. As we are halfway through the NLCS and the ALCS, I am Brandon. To my left, that is Michael. Below him is Wes. This is our playoff recap and kind of predictions here as we go forward, gentlemen. And before we jump right into that, let's play the open, and then we'll dive into some bourbon and baseball.
This is Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast, with your hosts, Brandon Spinner and Michael Burns.
Well, hello and welcome back into Barrels and Barrels, a bourbon and baseball podcast. Thank you for joining us. If you are watching this live, don't forget to hit the comments section. Send us your comments. We'll talk about the baseball games that just finished and the one that's going on, but also recap what's been going on here so far in the playoffs. As I mentioned, to my left, your right, on the top right of your screen, Michael Burns. Below him is Wes. Mikey, welcome in. How are we all doing on this? What's today, Thursday?
Today's Thursday. I just got back from Boston this morning. I've been
Boston.
So I had an early flight this morning, so I'm a little pooped.
Wes, how you doing, man?
Man, doing great. It got a little chilly. I'll call it chilly here in Florida.
Oh boy.
It was like 50s, and people brought out their
really?
major parkas and coats and stuff. Yeah.
So, any iguanas fall out of trees?
Yeah, exactly. It's always funny at this time of year when it gets to be like winter in Florida and, winter, and people bring like their heavy coats for like 50-degree weather.
How are you, sir, Brandon?
Hanging in there. I finally got some days off, so I'm doing the Sober October thing, but because this is a bourbon and baseball podcast, I'm going to do two fresh cracks of two of my newest bottles that I just got from a local distillery. So we'll jump into that later on. It's been a couple weeks since all three of us were together. Before we jump into the baseball part, you're watching on YouTube. Barrels and Barrels Pod is where you can find us. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below if you haven't done that already. We've got two different YouTube channels. We've got this one, which is our baseball channel. We also have a bourbon exclusive channel, so don't forget to check that out. BNB Bourbon, which is it's grown quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. That's almost 150 subscribers, so go check us out there. We're nearly at 1,000 on this channel, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button below if you haven't done that already. This is brought to you by Whiskey Towers. If you don't know what a Whiskey Tower is, Mikey always likes to say it's a beer tap for your bourbon. Go to whiskeytowers.com. You get 10% off your order if you use promo code all caps, Whiskey Weather. We're getting close to Christmas time. That would be a perfect gift for any of your whiskey-loving family, friends, or enemies. But you can find us on Instagram, Barrels and Barrels Pod, also Facebook and TikTok. Twitter is at Barrels, the letter N, Barrels. And you can find us, you maybe are listening to this on a later stream on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Google, and Amazon podcasts. Don't forget to rate us and review us there. And again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below as we are here in the playoffs. Talking bourbon, talking baseball. This is going to predominantly be a baseball podcast. And before we go any further, Mikey Burns is wearing a t-shirt that you can get at charliemikeneverweekend.com. I always say it's the softest and most comfortable t-shirt I own, and that's not hyperbole. It just got Adrian just bought one. She said it is indeed one of the comfiest shirts she's owned. I know Brian Whiskey, who is from 10th Mountain Whiskey, says the same thing. And Wes, you have one as well. So we're not just blowing smoke up your ass. We're telling we're literally telling you the truth. So go head on over to charliemikeneverweekend.com to go grab yours if you haven't done that already. So, gentlemen, I feel like the playoffs have gone by like that. It's October 20th. What do we think so far of the first few games of the ALCS and the NLCS?
I have one conspiracy.
Ooh.
Oh, here we go.
Aliens.
The
The
MLB is trading out balls in and out.
I think, oh man. I am a conspiracy theorist, and I'm going to 100% agree with Michael. I think they've been doing that all season.
Like juice balls and dead balls?
Yes. that there was a time during the Braves series that the pitcher did not request a ball, but he was told to take a new ball, depending on which batter came up.
Oh.
It was a very happening moment in the
So
Braves
every
series.
time Yordan Alvarez comes to bat, there's a juice baseball. That's what you're trying to say?
I mean, that guy mashes. That dude absolutely mashes. I think he would smash a dead ball over the right field wall. But
I will say the ball today in Arizona was not going anywhere. There were a couple balls that I thought were crushed, and they didn't even make it to the track. Who played third base for Arizona today? It was his first game that he started. He roped one in his first. Yeah, and he took it to the track, and I thought that ball was gone. Someone else put one into right center field that just kind of died. I think it was on the Phillies. Was it Bohm, maybe? I think he had one that would have probably went to the wall on a normal day. That's a pretty good conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because I had heard that the Acuna bases loaded home run off of Kimbrel was 109 miles an hour off the bat, and it didn't leave the ballpark. But
you would think they'd be juicing that ball, though.
Not if they want the Phillies. Not if it's all about the Phillies. If MLB is now, like the NFL scripts their games. If the MLB is trying their best with these balls. But Acuna's ball was not 109. I went back and looked. It was only 97.5 miles an hour exit velocity.
I don't think he got it flush. I think he got it a little bit off the inside of the bat rather than off the barrel. It looked better. I was watching it without sound, and I jumped out of my chair. I was at work, and I was like, oh, my God. And then I saw, was it Rojas makes the catch in left center field?
But then Schwarber hits one off the cap. I thought the color commentators thought he broke his bat because he got it so off the end cap.
420 feet.
Yeah. Right field. A pitch on the outside corner, off the end of the bat. He was out in front of it, and he poked it over, like you said, 420.
Mikey's just mad that his pick for the World Series is done.
Well, I'll say that.
My bracket pick, my preseason pick.
Right.
Your preseason pick still in play, huh? 2 years ago, there was a random group of, it was a group of baseball fans that took MLB baseballs and did a study on them and compared it to previous year's baseball. And this is when the pitchers were complaining a lot about the baseball is different. Like I can feel it. The baseball is different. And you kept hearing that in the media. And the entire report came out about that. Not verified by any means because it wasn't, like MLB that did the study, obviously. And they showed you why the baseballs were different. Ever since then, man, like I've been a conspiracy theorist. I 100% believe MLB inserted juice balls into Aaron Judge's 62 run last year. 100% believe that happened.
Yep.
I 100% believe they've been doing that all year. And the day, if you guys remember the day that MLB scored there were more runs scored in MLB in a single day. There was some balls that left the yard on that day where I was like, this is not real.
Is that the day we had like 50 home runs hit?
Yeah, there was more home runs and more runs scored than any single day ever in MLB history.
I think there were like 14 teams that scored 10 plus runs. We were doing a podcast live at that moment. Mike, I was like, another team just scored. Another team just scored 10. Those are pretty good conspiracy theories. We'll see if it works out to the MLB. Their thoughts.
Good.
People out there on social media, there's some really smart people. Somebody figure that out for us, all right? And then report back.
Yes, disassemble the home run ball that you caught in Citizen Baseball Park. Speaking of that, let's talk about that series first. Obviously, after tonight, the Phillies still lead the series 2-1, but the Diamondbacks come back with a walk-off 2-1 victory in what was, I would say that might be the best game of the playoffs so far. I think out of every game that had been played, that may have been the most suspense outside of that Braves Acuna grand slam that wasn't I get that would probably be the most suspense that I think I've had in a game, and it wasn't even a clinching game. It was game 3 of the series, as the Diamondbacks get the first win of the series and the first time that they actually look like they can play some baseball. What did you think so far? The first 2 games of the series. Let's start with the 2 games in Citizens Bank. That place is insane.
Yeah, was it U.S. that shared that after that Arcia whole fiasco, getting the Phillies fans and everything all ramped up, that they had a fake done some a fake Twitter account for D-backs fans.
Yeah.
Trying to get them even amp up, let that keep rolling into the next series.
Somebody created a fake Twitter account that was apparently trolling the Phillies to try and get them going to propel them through the championship series.
Hey, we talked about it last week a little bit, you and I, Wes. Michael Jordan always would find something, right? Whether it was this guy talked shit about me, right? But he didn't, or if he did, it was the most minuscule thing. But some athletes just try to use every little bit and piece. You sent us what AA's Alex Anthopoulos' response to that was. What do you think about his answer? And for those of you who don't know, he just said that it's a distraction, but most of those players tune it out the moment they hit the field. Do you think that that's true, or do you think that that's kind of a cop-out?
I think that's true for most players, and in any regular situation. I find that very hard to be true in that particular environment. I love AA, man. I think he's one of the best GMs in the game. I think that was the political answer he had to give.
Yeah.
To be quite honest,
Sure.
He's not going to sit there and say, yeah, absolutely, that had something to do with it. And then now he throws his own player under the bus. Like, he can't do that, right? So I think that was the political answer. And I do believe there is some truth to that. I think there are players that are able to just let that go in one ear out the other. They hop on the field, and once that light switch goes on, man, they're good, and they're good to go. A guy like Bryce Harper is probably like that, but also you give him that 1%, like we talked about, and propel him through. But I liked what AA said. I think it was about as good of an answer as you could have provided.
Michael?
It definitely got to Arcia. If you saw him in the dugout, he just could not leave the fans. The fans weren't leaving him alone. Give him that. But he could not tune them out. And you have to wonder if that guy's pressing now at the plate a little bit more, trying to shut them up, because how bad they were bothering him. He can't deny that.
For sure. You could definitely tell that they were under his skin, especially in game 4 when the Phillies were in the lead. So that carried over into game 1. Bryce Harper, his birthday, hits a mammoth home run, blows out the candles.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, he put up 3-1 and went. Okay, I got to put this out there.
That was really cool, though. That was really cool.
Yeah, I got to put this out there. Brian Anderson, the announcer on TBS right now, is awful. He has messed up multiple calls. And I'm like, nope, that's not JT Realmuto behind the plate, because Moreno is on the Diamondbacks and JT's in Philly. He said, and Harper holding up 4 fingers for his 4th home run in the playoffs. Nope, it's his 31st birthday, and he had 3 and 1.
Why would he? Yeah, why would he say 4?
Is that Brian Anderson from the Rays?
No, he is the Milwaukee Brewers play-by-play guy on TV. He's been doing playoffs for a while. Not Joe Buck, but the Dodgers head play-by-play guy. I love him. He's doing the Fox game right now with Smoltz. He's been great, but even he messed up last night. But Brian Anderson has been trash here in the postseason. Not only in this series, but I think in the Phillies and the Braves series, he was pretty rough as well. But what I've thought about that first game is Philly jumped out on top. Gallen was the best chance I thought that the Diamondbacks had, and they put up 5 on him in the first 5 innings. He only goes 5 innings, gives up those 5 earned. Now they crawled back and made it a 5-3 game. Kimbrel made it a little hairy, as he tends to do in the 9th inning, but they still got the W. And then they just came out in game 2 and exploded 10-0. Now they lost game 3, but do you guys have any doubts on the Phillies?
No, the one take I had on that was when the D-backs lose the Zach Gallen game, it felt a lot like the Braves losing the Spencer Strider game.
Both of them?
Yeah, well,
sorry.
Gallen's going to pitch again, right? Like,
yeah.
If they don't win that game, then their chances are pretty slim.
Right.
There was no way the Braves were going to beat the Phillies losing both Spencer Strider starts. I don't see how the Diamondbacks even come close if they already lost the first Gallen start. I don't see how they come close if they lose another one.
Yeah. So today, in game 3, the big deal was the starting pitching. The 2 pitchers that we probably didn't think were going to have a pitcher's duel. We go Ranger Suarez and Brandon Pfaadt. I spelled his name wrong. It's 2 A's, not 2 D's. But he pitched like he had a big D today because 5 2/3, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts. That was a career high. Ranger Suarez 5 1/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Now Pfaadt goes 70 pitches through those 5 2/3, and in our text chain, I know Michael, you said 70 pitches, 5 2/3, no runs. What's the deal?
2 hits.
Yeah, 2 hits.
70 pitches.
What do you think?
I think the game before they yanked Merrill Kelly too early, and they're pressing their bullpen more than they have to. Let their best guys go at it. Mm-hmm. Let your starting pitchers who've been doing it all year stretch it out. Don't go to your bullpen too early if you don't have to. Merrill Kelly should have stayed in longer. Game 2. I didn't get to watch this game, but just going off of those stats,
he was dealing. He pitched. That was the best I've seen him pitch all season. He had a 5.72 ERA all season. But Wes, what were you going to say?
I'm just tired of front offices determining games before they're ever played. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, to me, that's a front office move, right? Because if I'm a manager and that guy's absolutely dealing, like, I'm going to let him go until he gets into trouble. And Brandon Pfaadt was dealing, right? Like, I get sticking to the script and like trying to get,
this is a Moneyball
process, but yeah, it's exactly it. I mean,
you're not going to start Pena tonight. You're not going to start Pena tonight. Why is that? My scorecard.
No, I will say it didn't end up hurting the Diamondbacks because they walked it off, which was awesome to see. That's the best piece of the playoffs so far. But I don't know, man. I loved what Boach did the other day, and we talked about it, letting I forget the reliever, the lefty that went 5-6 innings. Like, he was dealing.
Bradford.
Oh, man. Yeah, Bradford.
Bradford?
Man,
He almost pitches like him, but from the left side. So I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. I did catch during the game that Torey Lovello said he only feels comfortable with Pfaadt going to face 18 batters. And that's exactly the amount of batters he faced. So then I dug into it, and here's why. Look at his OPS through the first time through the order, 645. Second time through the order, 821. Third time through the order, 1.192, which is astronomical, and his batting average against in the third time through the order is 397. So basically 4 out of every 10 at-bats, they get a hit, and by the OPS and the slugging with that was over 770, I believe. That means that they're doing damage. He was just about to face Kyle Schwarber for the third time, but he had struck out Schwarber twice in 2 at-bats. But they talked to Kevin Long during the game, the Phillies hitting coach, and they said, "What do you think about this kid? He's shutting you down." And he goes, "We've never seen him. All we've seen is him on tape." So this is the first time our guys are seeing his pitches, his ball, how it moves. And I think Torey was scared to throw him out there in a game where, honestly, it's do or die, right? If you go down 3-0, we've only seen one team ever come back from a 3-0 series deficit. And I think that's in all sports, right? Has any other team outside the Red Sox done it?
I think that was the big deal of it.
It's been done 3-1
in hockey. I'm pretty sure it's been done.
Oh yeah, the Flyers did it against the Bruins back in 2010, and then the Blackhawks went out and beat them in the Stanley Cup championship. But as a Blackhawks fan, I just had to say that. But I understand why they did it, but I would have left him in. Like, he's dealing 5 2/3, 70 pitches. His career high in innings is 7 innings, which was done earlier on in the season. This is the best he's looked in the majors, the last 3 games in the playoffs.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Those numbers might be inflated from his early season where he was absolutely atrocious and couldn't even be relied on. Where now the last month or even especially the playoffs, he's been what they were expecting out of him, the minor league pitcher of the year or strikeout leader last year.
I will say his September wasn't the best. He gave up 12 runs in just over a quick math, 24 innings. So 455, that's not terrible, but he got beaten up a bit by the Cubs, and then the Yankees put 5 on him. But he's pitched very well in the playoffs so far, I believe. Whether it was limited relief, or I think he started and went 3 2/3 in Game 1 versus the Brewers, wasn't it? I think he was the Game 1 starter versus the Brewers. So, yeah, I would have sent him back out, and I was surprised the bullpen usage by the Phillies when they were up 1-0. I'm surprised they went to Kerkering in the 7th inning there, where they had Dominguez. They haven't really thrown him at all, have they?
Dominguez?
Yeah.
1 inning?
Yeah.
Maybe 2 innings? I'll find it.
Yeah. So, because they've got Kerkering, Dominguez, Alvarado, Kimbrel. I feel like they have one more arm. They went with Hoffman before that.
Right.
Kerkering has been pretty good, though.
He was. He has
shaky in that inning, but he's been lights out.
Ooh, and the Texas Rangers get on the board. Am I ahead of you guys?
No, I'm ahead of you actually tonight, Brandon. Let's go. Just very little.
Adolis with or Adolis, however you say it, with a solo. So Houston, as we're watching this, currently leads 3-1 in the bottom of the second, but Adolis or Adolis, however you want to say it, 379-foot bomb.
Shoots like that, man. I hope he hits a home run. Good Lord. It hurt my eyes.
Here's the bourbon portion of the podcast, by the way.
Oh, some Boone County.
Boone County. Yeah. This just dropped a couple of weeks ago. I picked it up the other day. This is a maple cask finished Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. So this comes in at 108.8 proof.
The maple kind? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is so sweet. This will be my first pour, second pour here in the month of October, as I'm doing sober-ish October. Well, back to the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. So 2-1 Phillies up in the series. They've outscored the Diamondbacks within those 3 games, 15-4 now, because they got 3 in the first game. So that this final, so that's 17-4. Guess that didn't update. No, 16-4. Man, math is hard some days. So 16-4. They have controlled the series until Game 3. What do we think from here on out?
I still think it's an uphill battle for the Diamondbacks. They have to take every game in Arizona to have a real chance because Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola have been absolutely lights out.
Aces.
They've been the true aces that they've been in their careers. So, I think it's still an uphill battle for the D-backs, and I know they walked it off tonight, but I mean, the Phillies bullpen, Kimbrel, he was pretty shaky, so I can't say that it was. You just feel like the Diamondbacks are overmatched. That the Phillies are just going to run away with it. So it was one of those things where domino just happened to fall Diamondbacks' way today. Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if the next 2 games go to the Phillies.
So they have announced that Christopher Sanchez is going to start Game 4. He hasn't pitched at all in the playoffs so far. The last game that he did pitch, I believe, was on September the 30th, I think I just saw. they have not announced who's pitching for the Diamondbacks yet. Sanchez pitched
They don't know.
1 inning. Yeah,
it's going to be a bullpen game.
Right.
I imagine it's going to be a bullpen game because they need another day to get back to Gallen, and they don't have anybody else they trust.
Do you just reset your rotation though and just do 4 days rest because to go to a bullpen game in a near must-win game.
Yeah, but I mean,
but then game 7 you're going to bullpen game.
Yeah.
Well, he could go 1-4-7. And make it and maybe he doesn't go 7 innings, but he gives you 5, and then it's not so much of it's not Tommy Henry going out there for 3
Ryan
innings.
Nelson.
Ryan Nelson. He imploded.
So who do we think wins this and in how many games? Wes?
I got Phillies in 5.
Phillies in 5. Michael?
We'll say Phillies in 6. We'll say the Diamondbacks squeak out one more at home. But we already said the 2 aces, the bats. I mean, 4 Phillies are hitting above 300, and frickin' Trey Turner is batting 500.
Yep. Coming into today, what did he go today? Did he go 2 for 4 or 1 for 4? 2 for 4. Okay, so he's
still batting 500. Yeah,
that's insane. With 3 home runs and 4 RBI, dude is
in the LCS, both AL and NL. The Phillies have 7 of the top 13 hitters in OPS.
And they have the best ERA amongst all baseball teams. They've given up.
I saw that. You shared. That was nuts.
With the 4 runs they've given up in this 3-game series, plus they didn't give up a ton to the Braves, and then they destroyed the Marlins. Their ERA, I think, is under 2 combined in the postseason so far as an entire team, not just starting staff, but including the relievers and all that. That's pretty insane. I'm going to go Philly in 5 as well. I just think that they're going to jump all over whoever it is coming up to start. Like, whoever pitches for the Diamondbacks game 4 has to shut down the first 3, because if he doesn't get out of the first inning, the Diamondbacks have no shot.
There's no coming back. Yeah.
The Diamondbacks don't have the bats that as like the Phillies do.
Right.
Corbin Carroll hits well.
And like Christian Walker can run into one. Corbin Carroll can, obviously we know what he can do, but you don't look at the Diamondbacks lineup and you're like, hey, you could go back to back, score 2 runs off the bat and be, up 2-0. Like, you don't see that in the Diamondbacks lineup. You look at the Phillies lineup and you're like, they could be up 4-0 in the first inning with 4 hits,
Right.
And they can score in bunches. The Diamondbacks, they got to kind of create offense. They got to get momentum going. They need to steal a base. They need a hit and run.
They can hit stealing bases. They're not stealing. Corbin Carroll's not running.
Neither is Trey either.
Trey Turner. I don't know what's going on in the playoffs, but there are not near as many stolen bases as I anticipated, and I'm not sure why. Nothing has changed.
I wonder if we're getting to that analytics where it's all outs are precious, right? Well, you see that do that again. It happened last time too. Is it this?
Air quote.
Is it the air quotes?
Oh, it is.
So for those of you listening, that's incredible. For those of you listening on Apple, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon, I made air quotes and balloons just flew across my camera. I have no idea what's going on here.
How are you doing that? You're magic, man.
I don't know. Ooh, magic fingers. That's what the ladies say.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. Or one lady says.
He's a married man. He's a married man, listeners.
But what were we talking about when that happened?
Stolen bases.
Oh, stolen bases.
Yeah,
the analytics behind all this is every out is precious, right? You don't want to waste an out in the postseason because all outs matter more than they do in the regular season. But still, you've got the 3 best base stealers in the league between Trey and Corbin Carroll. Both of them were over 40, and I think Carroll was in the 50s.
Yep.
So when they get on, that's what causes issues on the base paths, right? You force them to get you out, not the other way around. Because
remember Schwarber last year?
Right.
Cause him, put more pressure on the pitcher.
Right.
That he's looking at you and he's not able to focus at that catcher's mitt as much. Where if you're just going to sit there and worried about the analytics there, I'm lifting. I'm not slide stepping. I know you're not going.
You're making more of a mistake pitch because you're worried about the guy on the base. You mentioned something, Wes, is they have to manufacture runs rather than the Phillies. They can just mash and put up runs in bunches. That was one thing Torey Luvello mentioned before the game tonight, was he said he wanted the Diamondbacks and he told the team to get back to Diamondbacks baseball, which has been that, right? It's the manufacturing run. They're not mashers. Obviously, you got Christian Walker, Corbin, and Ketel Marte, who had the game of the series so far for the Diamondbacks with 3 hits and the walk-off base hit up the middle of the day. Very reminiscent of a similar Arizona Diamondbacks playoff walk-off hit up the middle. But other than that, I mean, Lourdes, Tommy Pham had been great up until this series. You're not mashing balls. They did it against Kershaw, but I don't see how you're going to do that against these Phillies pitchers.
Oh, Wheeler and Nola are 1-2 aces, 1A, 1B.
I'm going to let you guys guess how many, if you don't already know, how many stolen bases are there so far in the championship series? Entirety of the championship series. This is according to Fangraphs.
All 4 games?
All 4 games.
Or all 4 teams?
Or I'm sorry, all 4 teams. Yeah, all games, all 4 teams.
I'm going to guess 1. And I'm trending towards 0, but I'm going to guess 1.
I know Bryce Harper has 1 in today's game. Let
me clarify. This is not up to date with today's game.
So let's just say the one.
You are correct. The one with Bryce Harper. Counting the one with Bryce Harper today, it would be 3.
Oh wow!
Bryson Stott has 1. Leota Taveras has 1, and Bryce Harper has 1 today. Did anybody else steal a base today?
I don't think so. Not unless
I was hoping we were going to get a bunch of free tacos. I'm not so confident now.
Oh, we'll get one. We'll get free tacos. It's always been game 1 since they started the steal a base, steal a taco deal. They've always done game 1. Like Kyle Schwarber did it the first inning last year, I think, didn't he? In the first inning,
there's a little bit of gamesmanship there. It's like, hey man, like
for the
America
people.
I'm going to steal the base. Like we'll go to Taco Bell after the game.
Thing is, this year you got to have the damn app. Last year that's how it was too. You have to have the app. What'd you pour, Michael?
Right now, this is Chattanooga whiskey single barrel.
Single barrel.
Single barrel, yes.
Store pick or just a regular?
Yeah,
Brinkman's?
Single barrel from Bob's Wine and Liquor in Knoxville.
Oh, Bob's Wine and Liquor?
Yes, right.
I'm drinking this maple cask finish. I think it needs to open up a little bit. So Boone County is a pot stilled.
Are they all? Is all pot still?
Mm-hmm. That's the only thing they got. So there's a little bit of funk to it, but there's definitely some sweetness. It's got more of a roller coaster ride. There's some depth to this, and I'm going to wait for it to open up a little more. But the nose is pretty good. Nose has got some, like, obviously maple, but like a candied bacon is what I get on the nose from it. So we talked about the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. We already gave our predictions. Again, I think the Phillies are the team to beat. Is there any team right now that can beat the Phillies in a 4-game series out of the 3 other teams?
Out of the 3 other teams?
I think Texas is hot enough, but I don't know that their arms match up.
Yeah, 1-2 of Wheeler Nola. Offense, I think the offense is Texas Rangers is the number 2 offense in front of Houston. Evan Carter is just lengthening that lineup just enough, I think.
Yeah.
And
Josh Young yesterday.
Josh Young with 2 bombs yesterday. That's right.
2-run bombs. Yeah.
Man, what the rookies are doing in this postseason is mind blowing. Like Evan Carter, Corbin Carroll, obviously he was up all year, and so was Young, but like still, these are kids that are performing at elite levels on the biggest stage. Yeah, I mean they're what, 22?
Yeah, I love.
Yeah.
I think Evan Carter's like. Is Evan Carter even 21 yet? Can he even?
I think he's 20.
Oh, is he 20?
I think he's 20. I think
no,
so.
Font's 25, I believe.
Yeah. Nope. No clown questions, Evan Carter. No clown questions.
The Rangers do lead that series 2-1. They're down 3-2 here as they head to the top of the third, I believe, after manufacturing a couple runs there with a home run and then I think a double and a sac fly. But they lead that series. They're at home versus the Astros. They're up 2-1 in the series. If the Astros were to win today, I think I would lean that the Astros have the best shot from here on out. But they would have to win Game 5 because this stat is mind-blowing. The record 90-72, but on the road this year they're 51-30. At home they're 39-42, and they
flip-flop.
Yeah, major. That's one of the weirdest and wackiest things I've ever seen for a playoff team and a World Series contending team. Right? No one has ever won the World Series with a below 500 record at home, and it could possibly happen this year. We're not ruling the Astros out yet, but.
Well, it's America's anti-team.
Yes, the villain.
Yes,
the Astros, the villain. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we think about this series so far?
It's been entertaining. I'll give it that. There still hasn't been as much suspense that I was hoping for.
Okay, sorry. Breaking. Joe Mantiply will be the starting pitcher for the Diamondbacks. He's a lefty reliever, so that's who they're going to start out with. Makes sense going Schwarber, Turner, Harper. For the first three, he's going to face two of the best left-handed hitters that he's going to have to get out. So if Schwarber can get something going, that could be pretty crazy tomorrow for Game 4, and that is at 8 o'clock tomorrow as this plays on Spotify. That'll be later on tonight, October the 20th. But so go ahead. Sorry, Texas, Houston. Didn't mean to.
It's been entertaining. I mean, there's been some pressure moments whenever Evan Carter made that catch up against the wall against Aroldis Chapman was on the mound, and was it Jordan that hit it to left center?
Bregman.
So let's talk about that play, the Altuve play at second base. Is that worse than the Harper play?
No, I think Harper's was worse.
I disagree.
Really?
I do.
No, I mean, really, as in for Burns, I don't know that Harper's was worse.
Harper was a read. Altuve was kind of a misstep. I don't know that because he got back to the bag. He just misstepped in. I mean, it was a half step. The dude was foot on the bag on the other side and then ran across. Where Harper just totally misread the ball.
But Harper's ties the game if it gets down. And in that case, I'm fine with it because I'd rather him – because if he's standing on third base after that, if that ball were to get down and he doesn't score, they're tearing him apart. And that was to basically tie a game. I mean, I get Altuve's was as well, but he had the play in front of him. Harper had the play behind him. And also, Altuve didn't go all the way around. Like, that you got to retouch. I think it was – in my mind, I think it's worse.
Yeah, I feel like the play for Harper where man, that ball was hit really well. That's an incredible catch in right center. He's gonna score on that ball probably 10 times out of 10 if it's down. So I can understand him trying to get around second base and score there. For Altuve, I feel like that's just a mental error.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like I guess that's the difference for me. For Harper, that was an effort error, whereas for Altuve, it was a mental error. And like I can take effort errors, I can't take mental errors, and so I think that's why for me, Altuve's was a little worse.
Yeah, I don't know that I see Harper's was effort. I thought it was just misjudgment. That he could have been standing on second, and if that ball gets down, he's scoring still. If it's caught, he's getting back. Where he didn't have to go as far as he was getting aggressive. But like you're saying,
I'd rather be over aggressive than under aggressive.
But that's the opposite of what they're saying with stolen bases, though. The statistics are saying don't be aggressive, with stolen and trying to get rid of that ground ball double play.
Yeah. So it's okay to be aggressive, trying to go first to home on a ball in the gap, but it's not okay to steal second base.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree. And I'm just assuming that's why we don't have stolen bases right now, right? Because the whole don't
Analytics.
make outs on. Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, still, like Trey Turner, I think didn't he have a perfect stolen base record this year?
Yes.
Yeah. He's been like dating back to last year. He's at like 50 in a row, I think.
Yeah, he hasn't been caught.
Maybe
he doesn't want to break that in the playoffs. I don't know. But
who knows? I just wanted more excitement. I'm happy that the Diamondbacks won and created some excitement. I'm happy that there was some anxiety, in the Rangers Houston series. But man, this playoff has just not been as exciting as I was hoping for and anticipating, and especially with the way that runs were scored during the season, and there were stolen bases. There were a lot more athletic plays. Now, we have gotten a lot more athletic plays in the playoffs than we did previously because of the shift. So I am excited about that. But, man, it just hasn't lived up to the bill, at least for me, in the playoffs so far.
Looking pre-series, that we look at the Houston Astros rotation of Verlander and Framber, you think those are two guys who are going to eat some innings and perform, and it's really been the opposite. Verlander did pitch a great game in Game 1. He had 6 hits given up, just the 2 runs, the home run, and Evan Carter just turning a single into a double, and just taking advantage and extra hustle. But the Houston Astros bullpen has been lights out when Framber came out. In Game 2, they pitched 7.1 innings, only give up 1 hit. 1 hit. That's what you want. That's what you need out of your playoff contending bullpen right there.
7.1 or was it 6.1?
6.1, excuse me.
Yeah.
1 hit.
Insane. Because Texas hadn't scored outside of Jonah Heim's home run for 14 innings up until Josh Jung's home run yesterday, the first one. They hadn't scored since Heim's home run that answered the comeback
So let me ask this question for you guys, because I'm in between on it. Typically postseason baseball, right? You get like a Verlander matchup, a Verlander Wheeler matchup, right? And obviously that's hypothetical. That hasn't happened. But when Verlander gives up 6 runs early, are you happy for the offense, or is that something where you're like, it's less entertaining for postseason baseball because I came to see 2 aces duel it out and go into the 6th and 7th inning, right? Like, I'm in between on that. I would enjoy watching, the pitchers matchup, but I don't know. You guys tell me.
What you think, Brandon?
I mean, it depends on who you're rooting for, right? If you don't have a dog in the hunt, I guess I'd rather see the best baseball, and that's most likely the tight pitching duel going deep into the game. And I believe Jordan Montgomery and Verlander both went 6+, and that was the first time that opposing pitchers had done that in a single game in this postseason, which just shows you where we're at in the pitching world nowadays, where that used to be very common, right? Like 6 innings or more and then getting pulled, no matter whether you gave up 3 or 4. Now it's you give up 4 like Framber did, or 5, and you're pulled in the 3rd inning, and you're the second best pitcher on your damn team, and you had the potential to win a Cy Young earlier this year until you blew up a couple of times. I don't know.
Corey Seager.
I turned the game off because my phone's about to die, and that's what I was streaming on it. Did he hit a home
run?
run?
Corey Seager just went oppo for a solo home run.
So we're all tied up, 3-3. There we go.
Is it 3-3? 3-2?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-3.
There it is. He's running third base. Corey Seager. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I like the pitching matchups. You used to think that you grind the huh?
It says the pitcher.
You used to be where you'd work counts and you try to get that starting pitcher out by the 5th.
Right.
Now, starting pitchers are lucky to go past the 5th.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like in this postseason, I'm trying to find a way to go count. And it was the Andrew Heaney start tonight that I kind of want to talk about. But I feel like that has happened way too many times in this postseason where the starter gets pulled in like 2/3 of an inning or the third of an inning, like Kershaw, Scherzer. How many did Scherzer go? That's the only game I hadn't gotten.
He went through 5, I believe. No, maybe it been 4 yesterday. It was 4. But he hadn't. The thing about the Scherzer thing is a whole different thing, I believe. Because Scherzer hadn't pitched in 36 days. So I think he was on a pitch count no matter what. Because of you don't know what you're going to get from him. He had an arm. It was a shoulder injury, right?
It's forearm, I thought.
I thought it was a shoulder. It may have been forearm.
Evaldi was the forearm.
Evaldi was forearm. I think shoulder, like a weird. It wasn't just like a normal thing for Scherzer. So you don't know how he's going to react. He hasn't faced live batters in 36 days. I don't care how many bullpens or how many simulated games. That's a whole different atmosphere. You're ramped into. So I'll give you the other ones. I'm going to take Scherzer out of that just because of the situation. But go ahead. Yeah, Max Fried.
Yeah, I mean that was just my thing, man. Like I guess for me, postseason baseball is that buildup of suspense because 2 pitchers are going at it for 6-7 innings, and it's 2-hit baseball, 3-hit baseball, and then somebody hits a huge home run in the 7th inning, right, to put them up 1-0. Like that hasn't necessarily happened yet. And like I don't know, for me, like I think the only home run that was really truly huge at this point was the Austin Riley home run to kind of put the Braves
that was the one that flipped it.
Yeah, that was the one that flipped it. And like that's the only, to me, the one where like it was back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. Phillies scored, Braves scored, and Zach Wheeler that's exactly what happened in that game, right? Like Wheeler was throwing a no-hitter through 6. And the Braves battled back. D'Arnaud hit a 2-run homer to put him at 3, and then Austin Riley hits a front foot home run to put him ahead. And like that's the only game so far where I'm like, that's what I expect out of postseason baseball. And like I haven't seen that anywhere else. It's just been this freaking flood of runs. Yeah, exactly.
We might have another good one here in Game 4 between Houston and Texas. Because Texas was down 3-0, and they've tied it, and they've got runners on first and second. To bounce off of that home run by Austin Riley was in the 8th inning, and then they ended up winning it in the 9th. Until today, the Phillies had not trailed in an inning until they just got walked off. So they've, in a total of the entire playoffs, they've trailed after the end of 3 innings. 2 of them have been to lose a game, and the other one was the 8th inning that they gave up the home run to Riley and to end up winning the game. That's how dominant the Phillies have been. I just wanted to throw that out there. That's how insane they've been. They've only lost 2 games this year, and they've trailed 3 total innings. And you could only, honestly, I'm going to say it's not even innings. They've only trailed 3 half innings. Bottom of the 8th, top of the 9th, bottom of the 9th of the next game. That's incredible.
Crazy, yeah, that's a pretty big dominant run right there.
And as we are recording, they just, speaking of starting pitching getting pulled early, Jose Urquidy just got pulled here in, is this the 3rd inning? I believe we're in the bottom of the 3rd. So they're going to the bullpen again in the bottom of the 3rd inning. They did this in the 3rd inning with Framber in Game 2. You have to wonder, when is the bow going to break, right? Like
how much can you tax your bullpen in a row?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean that's going to hurt in games 6 and 7 if it even gets there, just because like you cannot run your bullpen that. I mean, I get it. You can't. You got to win, especially in Houston, right? If they go down 3-1, it's going to be real tough for them to come out of that hole in Texas.
Speaking of the Houston in Texas, look at the amount of runs they've outscored the Rangers in the Rangers' home ballpark in the regular season this year. And I believe that's included yesterday as well. 71-37. They've nearly doubled the amount of runs that Texas has in their own ballpark.
So I got to ask about Andrew Heating and starting him tonight.
Okay.
I question that move, and here's why. Dane Dunning has been really good. I know he kind of he didn't end the year on a strong note, but I mean that was basically because he hit an innings wall. But he was really good for them all year, and Andrew Heaney was very average. Here's the other piece to that. If you go look at the 2023 team standings against left-handed hitters, Houston is number 1 in weighted runs created, 262. The next closest team is Philly at 251 against left-handers, right? So I'm
Why?
just I'm confused as to why Heaney started this game as opposed to Dunning. If you needed a guy to go out there, why not go Dunning first and then Heaney? I don't know. This one didn't make sense to me. It makes me want to scratch my headphones.
Yeah, maybe they just looked at as the start as just get him a one inning so that maybe Dunning can stretch and not have to use the bullpen as much, because the bullpen in Max's start had to go 5 innings.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, and they used 2 of their starters in Max's start with John Gray, and then I think Martin Perez finished that game out from the left side.
And I'll be honest, I would rather have Martin Perez in that situation than Andrew Heaney. I mean, that's just me personally. I know that.
That's where I was going to go, is the fact that Martin pitched last night when he came in for what I thought was a who cares 9th inning, right? They're up by they're down by 3. And I get trying to get him work. I don't think he'd pitched in a while, but I would have much rather gone to Martin Perez even for an inning to start the game today rather than Andrew Heaney.
100%.
If you're going to go with the lefty, because Heaney has not been great. I know Perez had a season, but he's more of the veteran, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he's had more success. Heaney he's been okay for the Rangers, but I don't know. I just of the games that are being decided in the front office that we're talking about, right? There's no way that this stat got missed. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that the Texas Rangers had no idea that the Houston Astros were leading the league against left-handed pitchers in weighted runs created. There's no way that just got missed. So I guess I'm curious.
So looking it up, he had only given up 1 earned run since September 15th, Heaney. And that was versus the Orioles, where he went 3 2/3. So maybe you're riding the hot hand there, because he has been so, I wouldn't call it dominant, but he went a third of an inning versus Boston, no earned runs, 2 1/3 versus Seattle with 2 strikeouts, 1 1/3 scoreless versus the Angels, 1 inning of scoreless baseball versus the Mariners. Then he went 4 1/3 3 days later, 0 earned runs, 1 earned run versus Baltimore at 3 2/3, and then he got lit up today versus Houston.
So you think they were playing this as like a bullpen game, and starting Heaney, expecting him to only go?
They were talking about on the broadcast last night that they were thinking about going Heaney, then Dunning, probably in a 6-out role for Heaney, potentially getting, like, you would hopefully get him through the lineup once. In a way, they have the arms to do it, right? You go Heaney, who's a starter, you get through the lineup once, hopefully he gets you 8 or 9 outs. Then you go to Dunning, 8 or 9 outs, and then you go to your high leverage arms from there, because you're into the 6th or the 7th inning. I get where they were going. I agree they probably should have flip-flopped it. But also, how's the top of that order go? Well, and that's how it's been different too, is that Houston Astros order has been all jacked up because Kyle Tucker hasn't been that great. So if Tucker was back in the top 3, I would have gone that route. But he's been batting, 6th the last couple of games? 7th? Because he's had a rotten postseason. He was 2 for 21 coming into last night. But
so speaking then of bats there, who is the more dangerous hitter? Jordan or Bryce Harper?
Jordan. That I'd rather face Harper because he is more likely to chase, I think. I think Harper is more aggressive than Jordan, and Jordan doesn't have emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Jordan is just pumps them. Their lines are very similar.
2 years ago, I wrote a piece on. I was asked to do it.
I wrote a piece.
And I was asked to do it on
Published in the New Yorker.
on the player that I thought was the most overrated in baseball.
Probably Bryce Harper.
I wrote it on Bryce Harper, and then he won an MVP the next year. So
his second one.
His second one, yeah. I'm gonna say Bryce Harper, man, because here's the reason.
That's who's more dangerous, or that's who'd you rather face?
That's who's more dangerous, because I love Jordan. I think right now he is hotter. I think he's a better hitter right now. But I think Bryce Harper, he just has this ability to control the moment better than any player I think I've ever seen. I mean, like, when there's a big stage and a big moment in a game and it's Bryce Harper, dude, he succeeds like 10 times out of 10. And it's insane watching him in those moments. The home run that he hit last season to put the Phillies ahead, to basically put them into the World Series, like, dude, nobody else does that.
So Harper's got the better OPS. He's got more home runs in the postseason. But he also has played, I guess Jordan has more plate appearances. Yeah.
By one. Or I'm sorry, at bats. That's at bats.
At bats, yeah. No, at bats, Jordan has 191 and Bryce has 165.
In postseason?
Mm-hmm. In his career.
Oh, in their career. Okay. I was like,
no, not this year, but no. In his career, Bryce has played in less games than Jordan in the postseason.
Here's one difference maker for me too. So amongst all hitters in the entirety of the postseason, Jordan has a 1.61 OPS. Harper has a 1.38. The difference to me is that Jordan is striking out at 30%, where Harper is striking out at 17%.
Michael, who would you go with it? Who would you rather face?
I would rather face Jordan. I think Bryce Harper is able to. Jordan's going to hit that home run, but Bryce is going to put that ball in play. He's going to draw the walks. If we look at this postseason, Harper has 9 walks.
Have you seen what Corey Seager's done in the playoffs? He had 9 walks in the ALDS alone.
Yeah, he's got 11 walks this postseason.
He had 9 versus Baltimore in that 3-game series, and then he hadn't had a single one in this series so far. But yeah, that's insane.
He's got a 29% walk rate and a 15.8% K rate.
Seager, yeah, and he didn't strike out a single time in the Baltimore series, and he had 4 coming into last night. And Smoltz made a pretty good comment on that. Remember when the Cubs faced the Nationals, Michael, and they walked Harper like 9 times in that series?
When Ryan Zimmerman was batting behind him?
Yeah, and from there, he went into like a month-long, prolonged slump.
The Cubs had figured something out.
It was like
all the other teams were
like the entire next season.
Yeah. So John Smoltz mentioned something about why Corey Seager may have struggled in these first 3 or 4 games until he just hit a home run versus the Rangers or versus the Astros. Is he goes, when you're not able to swing, you're not timing up pitches. And it may put you in a funk when you finally get to a point where you need to swing. And that's what he thinks may have put Seager. Oh, Seager, cool. And in this game, the Astros are about to break it open potentially. They've got bases loaded with no outs in the top of the 4th versus Dunning. And I wonder, he's at 57 pitches.
Bruce Bochy shaking his head. I'm like, oh, gosh.
Yeah. And they've got Perez warming up. Oh, no, that's Bradford warming up in the bullpen. Different lefty.
Yep. With on deck,
Jordan Alvarez. So that's who he's. Yeah, this is going to be the final batter that Dunning faces.
He's going to hit a grand slam, guaranteed.
All right, we're marking the tape. 59-42. That.
You know why? Because
you just said you don't.
That's exactly it. He's going to hit a grand slam.
You know why? Right, you know why it is? It's because Michael picked Bryce Harper.
Yes. The Diamondbacks are actually going to come back and win the series.
That's why I picked Philly in 5 and not 6, because Michael picked Philly in 6. And he's going with the Rye 3. Is that the B-Law pick?
Yeah, it has.
Is that the big unit, or is that the Nolan Ryan?
This is last year's. The vanilla has just exploded on this guy for me, and it is so smooth.
Ooh! Bregman just roped one, but was way out ahead of it.
Let's hear some color commentating here, Brandon, for Bregman.
Here we go.
All right, here, top of the 4th inning, bases loaded. Texas has Dunning on the mound, a 1-2 count to Bregman. Dunning with the set. He looks to second base and the pitch. It is in the dirt. That is ball 2, an 82-mile-per-hour slider as it goes to 2-2. Houston Astros led this game 3-0 through the first inning. Since then, Texas Rangers have climbed back to tie it. But the Rangers on the ropes right now as the Astros 1-for-4 hitters, batting 6-for-8 tonight with 3 runs batted in, 3 runs and 2 walks. The 2-2 pitch from Dunning, fouled away by Bregman off to the right side and out of play, and we're going to do it again.
And you see what has to happen over here is that Alex Bregman has to put the ball on in play, not on the ground. He cannot hit a ground ball right here.
So what are you looking for here? If I'm Dunning, I'm going again with the slider. Oh, Michael's a half second ahead of me. Yep, there it is. Change up. Great pitch by Dunning, and that's going to probably do it. I'm going to guess that that's his last batter he faces, because now you've got Jordan coming to the plate with the bases loaded. What a change up. That's a big pitch. That's his third offering, I believe, too. Like, that's not his strongest of his pitches. But back to the podcast. So game 1, Montgomery goes 6 1/3. How good has that pickup for the Rangers been? Jordan Montgomery.
That's the trade of the offseason for me. I mean, offseason of the deadline for me. Yeah. It wasn't the Scherzer, it wasn't the Verlander get. It wasn't the big name. It was just one of the ones that kind of went under the radar. And you know what? Like, if you followed Jordan Montgomery's career, he has been really good, man. He's probably one of the most underrated pitchers in the MLB.
He's pitched all over the place, right? He pitched with the Yankees for a while. Did he come up with the Yankees? Yankees, Cardinals?
Yeah, he came up with the Yankees, got traded to the Cardinals, and then
I guess this is only his 3rd team. I feel like, who
you're
he
thinking
reminds
of
me
the other Montgomery.
Jay Happ. I'm thinking, Mike Montgomery?
No, who was the guy that the Cubs got for Chapman and then he went back?
Are you talking about Adam Warren?
Yeah, that was Mike Montgomery.
Is it Adam Warren?
Adam Warren was who they got for who they traded Chapman, I believe.
Did we have a Montgomery besides Mike Montgomery?
No.
No, okay. I'm thinking of Adam Warren.
No, who I was thinking of was Jay Happ. Lefty, or J.A. Happ, or however you want to say. Yeah.
Toronto, he pitched for the Yankees.
Yeah, he was all over the place. Yeah. But yeah, Jordan Montgomery, he's been a dude this year. I think it's a sub 2.4 ERA or something like that since coming over to Texas. He's been the anchor. And I mean, that pitching rotation, think of the names in that rotation that aren't doing anything right now in the playoffs. Jacob deGrom. John Gray just pitched his first time in months. Scherzer hadn't pitched in the playoffs. Martin Perez. There's 4 players right there who would be 1 through 4 in a rotation had they been healthy. I mean, hell, you go DeGrom and Scherzer, which would be their rotation potentially. Oh, going back to rotation, who just had surgery? Sandy Alcantara is out for the entire year next year.
Cal
Wright again.
Cal Wright did too, yeah.
Oh boy,
I missed Cal Wright.
There was one other pitcher that just had a shoulder surgery.
Michael Fulmer just had surgery for the Cubs. He's going to miss all of next year with a UCL.
Oh, issue. Brandon Woodruff.
Brandon Woodruff. That's right. That was another one with the shoulder surgery. They don't know how long he's going to be out for. All right. Bradford's pitch to Jordan. That's the pitch you've got to throw to him. That 90-mile-per-hour up and in fastball. That's the only.
Yeah, there's 2 pitches that you can get him out with, You got to get him up. Yeah. Well, he's swung and missed at the slider away, but his arms are also long enough where if you don't get that slider far enough out, he's going to hit it in the right field seats.
Okay, here's the replay, Wes, of the home run robbery.
That was absolute robbery. Timed it, had to be there.
Oh, Tavares, yeah.
Shot.
Man. So 1-1 count here as we're watching live. Alvarez, Jordan, the pitch from Bradford.
Oh.
That's a hell of a call. That's not a strike. It was in the top of the zone. Speaking of that, I want to go back to the umpires in the Phillies and Diamondbacks game today. Did you watch any of that?
I saw the end of it.
I didn't get to it till
Dan Iasonia, his strike zone was all over the place.
Yes, it was.
And then Lance Barksdale totally missed a check swing call at the end of the game that I thought was going to come back to eat to harm the Phillies, but it didn't. But
the Paul Sewald versus Alec Boehm.
Dude, what was that?
Struck out Boehm twice.
That was a fastball that was like right
chest
over the plate.
high, right there.
And in Schwarber, to start the game, he called 2 strikes on Schwarber that were off the plate inside, I believe. And I was just like, oh boy, this game's going to be.
That's what you gotta love, that umpire scorecards now. You wish that affected the umpires a little bit.
Also, how about this view in the playoffs that they've had, this umpire catcher view, the camera on top of the umpire?
Oh.
I've loved it. All right, here we go. It's the payoff pitch. 2-2, bases loaded, 1 out, top of the 4th. Seemed like this could be the game right here.
Have you guys ever watched Brockmeyer?
What's that?
You guys ever watch Brockmeyer?
Brockmeyer, no. I've heard good things about it though.
That's who you remind me of calling the game. It's not an insult, I promise, but it's just hilarious.
All right, here we go. Full count. 1 out, top of the 4th, and the payoff pitch. Fouled away, left field. It's going to get out of play. Also, I want to go back because I just seen the amount of people in Texas. I want to go back to Citizens Bank Ballpark. How insane has that place been?
Yes.
That place is awesome.
Like we said, it gets it for how outspoken Philadelphia is. It has to get into the players. They have to tune it out.
Right. Alrighty, here we go. Michael's, I think, 2 seconds ahead of me. So Bradford's pitch.
Wasted pitch.
Ooh, fouled away. So
now let's I want to bring up Evan. Talk about how good Evan Carter has been. That I said in the beginning. In Game 3, in Game 1, stretching out a single to double, he scores because of that. He didn't start in Game 2 because of Framber.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
there it is.
Track.
Oh,
409 feet at the 410 marker.
Wes, it only took 10 minutes to see if you were going to have your prediction correct, but he flies out to the track. Insane. Go back to Evan Carter.
Yeah, Evan Carter just coming up in a spot when Adolis got hurt in September.
Mm-hmm.
And just being the man, being what they hope out of your first prospect, just hitting above 300 as a rookie coming into the postseason.
So we talked about this with the Orioles a little bit, right? And I think Brandon mentioned it, where like coming into the postseason, we felt like they might have a little young ignorance, right? Like, do you feel like that's the case for Evan Carter?
Talking to me,
Burns.
Michael.
Burns.
Oh,
sorry.
What do you mean young ignorance? Like he doesn't know any better?
Yeah, you don't know any better. You don't know what situation you're in. You're just playing like it's a normal game, not
almost
the
like
biggest game of the season.
They haven't figured it. They didn't get time to figure them out. All rookies come up, and the good ones do well in their first 2 months.
Look at Ellie De La Cruz.
And then face adversity in their 3rd month.
And
the
then they
great
have to adjust.
ones overcome that adversity.
Yeah, and it's something that takes long.
Right. When they start getting scouting reports on you and they start knowing how to get you out, for Javi Baez, it's just throw the ball outside of the zone and he's swinging. But
Jordan, 110 mile per hour, 110.7, 401 feet.
How does that not get out, man?
Expecting batting average 890, a home run in 17 out of 30 ballparks. Launch angle was 37. That's why.
Skied it.
Because you just missed it. If that launch angle is 36, that's probably 3 or 4 rows deep into the right center field bleachers. Wow. Bradford just missed giving up 4. That's huge, though, right? If you're going to get out of this inning, bases loaded, no outs, and if you could potentially get Abreu right here, you're going to get out of that with only 1 run. You take that day in and day out. That was a close pitch.
Yeah. I was going to ask, was that a win for Bradford?
Yes.
Against Alvarez.
Yeah. If you can get out of the
100%.
inning. If you can get out of the inning. Because he could very well hang one to Abreu here on a 2-2 pitch, and it could be 7-3, just as if Jordan hit the home run, and then you're in trouble. You've got to get out of the inning.
That was like walking Jordan. Would you have been mad? Would have been terrible if he walked Jordan in that situation? It would have been bad, but I don't think it'd have been terrible.
Who's after Abreu? Is it Kyle Tucker?
Sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have said it was the worst, but you're walking it. If you were walking it and then Kyle Tucker was coming up, I would say, that's a decent move.
How many times did Barry Bonds get walked with bases loaded?
Once or twice, I think, right? And that was the Joe Madden.
Oh, no!
What did I just say?
Abreu takes it over the left field bleachers.
Okay, he put it into the upper deck. Upper deck.
Now, Cody Bradford just lost.
See? That's what I'm saying. It's only a win if you can get out of the inning.
How close was that change up there that he had just had the bottom corner of the strike zone that just missed?
Yeah, it was about, a half a ball low?
Okay,
remember in our predictions episode, Joe asked us. He missed it by, a foot in the zone? He put it right over the heart of the plate. Right in Jose's happy zone. Man, full extension. So this was the guy, Jose Abreu, that I thought needed to step up in order for this Astros team.
Yeah.
Because he's the one guy who was replacing the guy, right? Yuli was that guy for them who was the glue guy for the last couple of years. And until the third game versus Minnesota, he hadn't been great. But since then, he's been solid. Well, this game's basically over, don't you think? Or do you think the Rangers offense they're on their third pitcher in the 4th inning?
I can't say any game is over with the Rangers offense right now. I mean, we're only in the 4th inning, so who knows? I mean, at this point, they might get into the Astros bullpen and they might do some damage there.
I guess they are in the Astros bullpen. Going back to the Astros here, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Christian Javier last night. Insane. They obviously get the win. Huge win for Houston. But Javier, in his last 4 postseason starts, he's given up a total of 2 earned runs, and that was last night's 2-run home run to Josh Young. He's given up 5 hits in the last 22 innings. Talk about ice in your veins, right? Like, insane. He was part of the no-hitter last year versus Philly in the World Series. And then he comes out versus Minnesota, 1 hit. Comes out versus Texas. And until the 5th inning, he had only given up 1 hit, I believe. Because it went a 2-out hit by Brandon Lowe, and then the 2-out home run by Josh Young. And then he was pulled, I believe.
Yeah, Christian Javier. I remember when him and Framber first were coming up, and it was like they were the new guys on the block for Houston. And at one point, Christian Javier was right there with Framber. It wasn't decided that Framber was the guy. Christian Javier was right there, and then he kind of faded where Framber took 22, 23 quality starts last year.
Yeah, but Javier probably was the unsung hero of that pitching staff last year, I'd say, in the playoffs between the New York game and the Phillies game, because he lengthens that rotation, right? You go Verlander, Framber. And that's been the thing here, I think, that stands out the most in the playoffs that I've noticed is the pitching, or at least starting pitching depth on a lot of these teams. isn't
Not
great.
good.
You
Right,
get past
agreed.
1 and 2, the question is, okay, who's their game 3 and 4 starter? Like, you look at the Diamondbacks, Brandon Pfaadt, no one expected 6 innings out of him today, right? He'd gone 3 2/3 in game 1 versus the Brewers. And then Ranger Suarez has been either 4 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings, sometimes 3 innings, depending on how they want to use him. You're not expecting much there. Houston, I mean, Javier is the only guy, I guess, because you go to Texas. Sure, you didn't know you had Scherzer. If Scherzer wasn't on this staff, if he couldn't come back and he was still hurt, who would have been your game 3 starter? Heaney or Dane Dunning?
Yeah, probably would have been Dunning.
I mean,
so has this
Baltimore?
been, Brandon, more of a playoffs of offense? Who has the bigger offense rather than in every year's past? It's pitching wins.
I think it's who's got the best bullpen, right? Who's got the deepest bullpen? Because we're going to the bullpens even more. I feel like we're going to the bullpens more than we ever have before. And it's been a trend over the last 5-6 years that the bullpens are going earlier and earlier. Look at Blake Snell in the freaking Game 7 of the World Series, right? They went to the bullpen in the 6th inning.
Yeah.
When he was dealing. So, I mean, sure, it's the offense, but also like Game 2, Astros go to the bullpen in the 3rd inning. Game 3, Texas goes to the bullpen in the 5th inning. Game 4, both teams here are already into their bullpens in the 3rd inning. Hell, Texas went into the bullpen technically in the 1st inning. The Diamondbacks, if it wasn't for Pfaadt going 6, they would have been into the bullpen probably in the 4th inning. They went into the bullpen in the 6th inning versus when Merrill Kelly pitched, and even with Zach Gallen, they both only went 5 innings, I believe. In Game 1 for the Diamondbacks of the playoffs, they went into the bullpen in the 4th inning. Game 1. And they won that game.
Yeah.
Dodgers went into it how many times before the 3rd inning? In 2 of the 3 games, right?
I think that's how it typically is of pitching wins offense or pitching wins games. Then who has that enough of a bullpen? Who has enough arms in that bullpen? I think what you really need is you need 3 solid starters.
Mm-hmm.
You need 3 solid starters, and then you can have that 4th game be a. I hate the idea of a bullpen game in the playoffs.
Even look at the Braves. Game 3, your starter was Bryce Elder, and I can tell you, most of the Braves people I talked to weren't confident Bryce was going to give you 5. Right? At Wes, as a Braves fan, were you like, oh, I can guarantee Bryce is going to give me 5?
Not the way that he pitched in the second half. He was not good in the second half.
So it's just, I'm going with another fresh pop, by the way.
Which one's that?
Boone County, Ambarana.
Oh
my.
I might be we might be doing we have the barrel Ambarana to do a review of together, Brandon.
Yes.
I might just be recording it, and we might be doing like side by side because I'm about to break into that thing. I've actually Brandon twice.
Just open. Oh yeah.
Given like the littlest, not enough to really get a full like mouth feel.
Well, hold on to it. We'll have to do a separate review. We'll talk about that after.
But that one is sitting right here in front of me, staring at me because you've talked it.
This Ambarama, man, the nose on this, incredible. So
now, Forgate has an Ambarana.
Yeah,
I think now. A
lot of them are doing. A lot of them are going with Ambarana because it's the hot finish right now. It's the best finish to get, and that's what Rio is mixed with honey. So, who has the best rotation left? Is it the Phillies?
Yeah.
I mean,
Ranger Suarez is a solid number 3.
Yeah, Ranger Suarez is the best number 3. I mean, what he's done in the postseason, not just this year, but last year, like he's legitimate.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he's been the unsung hero even last year, and I don't think he's given up an earned run since the LCS versus the Padres either.
Yeah. And I mean, the guy that's going to start, you said Christopher Sanchez, right? Is it going to start game 4?
Is he a rookie this year, technically?
Yes.
Technically, I think, yes. But I mean, he was probably their best starter the last month of the season.
Well, in fairness, Aaron Nola was trash this year for Aaron Nola standards.
Right.
Yeah,
that's true.
It was with 4.4 ERA or something like that on the season. He's about to be an impending free agent. So if I'll pose this question to Michael as a Cubs fan, would you be okay if the Cubs signed Aaron Nola? Okay, there we go. Quick answer.
Yes.
But I'm not giving him the best number, like the best
I'd take him over
contract.
Tyon.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to set the market, but he's going to get a decent number.
News today, it was either Heyman or Morosi who said it, it looks like Eduardo Rodriguez will be opting out of his deal.
Ooh.
So he immediately becomes the second best starting pitcher on the market behind Blake Snell, right? So Blake Snell is your number one. He's going to be the NL Cy Young, most likely.
Yeah.
95% sure that he's going to get the NL Cy Young award. The only one who would come in and sneak it is probably Strider. I don't even know if Wheeler is going to be in the conversation. I think it's going to be Gallen, Strider. Wheeler's number 4, I think, in my mind.
Yeah.
And he had the best Fangraphs WAR amongst all starting pitchers in baseball this year. Did you know that?
Say that one more time.
Zach Wheeler had the most WAR amongst all starting pitchers in baseball, according to Fangraphs. I believe it was it 5.4 or is it 6.4? Zach Gallen was 7th, 8th, whatever it was. So Eduardo Rodriguez probably becomes the second best starting pitcher on the market. And then your third best is going to be either Sonny Gray, and if that's not including Shohei, who is not going to be a starting pitcher this next year. And is he going to be a starting pitcher ever again? That's a question that we're going to have to answer in a year and a half. But
in the way that Jordan Montgomery's pitching, he might be your number 1, number 2, but also Julio Urias is going to be a free agent.
He's never going to play again.
Kershaw,
him and Wander.
You're going to see Urias probably in Japan somewhere. I'm just man, the whole I don't even want to get it. Never mind. I don't want to get into that conversation.
We'll do the free agent show down the road. So let's go. So we talked about the Phillies and the Diamondbacks in the first segment of the show, who we thought was going to win that series. Let's make our predictions now through the first 3.5 games, most likely 4 games. I'm assuming this is going to end 2-2. We've got a 3-game series from here on out. Who wins it? Michael, Astros or Rangers?
I think the Astros. I hate to say it. Before tonight's game, I was in the Rangers bandwagon.
Put your tickets on the Rangers, folks.
Yeah, I just think the Astros are going to turn back over to Verlander and Framber. And Framber had his blowout, so he got that out of the way. It's going to be the good Framber the next time around, maybe. And then Verlander's coming back. Jordan Montgomery is 2-0 in the postseason so far. Can he do it a third time?
Yeah. This Astros team, as you mentioned, is really good against left-handed pitchers. Montgomery shut him down in game 1. Is he going to be able to do it in game 2? That's the question. Wes, what do you think?
I'm just sticking with the offense, man. I think Houston, the Rangers' offense is still just hot. I think Houston jumped out early today because they started Heaney, and that was just kind of like gasoline to the fire. But I'm sticking with the Rangers until I see otherwise. Verlander just honestly has not impressed me. Yeah, he is Verlander. He has a track record. Obviously, everybody knows who he is and how good he's been in the postseason. But he just hasn't been great to me. He hasn't been dominant. I think that opens the door.
I would say Verlander's not an ace, but he's a number 1.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me is they're going back to the Rangers. Man, that That's going to be tough.
What do you mean going back to the Rangers?
So they're going back to, they're in Houston right now, right?
No, they're in Texas right now. Houston has home field because they won the division.
No, they played the first 2 games. Yeah.
In Houston.
Where are we at?
Yeah,
this is
Houston
game 4.
won the division. Yeah, they're going to play one more in Texas and then head back to Houston.
So I think that this game 4 for Texas, oh boy, McCormick, what a catch by, man, he covers a lot of ground out there in the outfield. Carter, boy, and he's playing left field because Tavares is in center field, and he is, Adolis played center field at times, didn't he? Adolis Garcia? I think he's played center a bit in his career.
A little bit.
So you've got 3 guys out there who could potentially be center fielders for that Texas Rangers. So what I was trying to say is I thought that this game 4, was as much of a must-win as it could be for the Rangers in a non-elimination game, for the fact that if you got Houston down 3-1, it was going to be real hard for them to come and win 3 games when you're throwing out Montgomery, Uvalde, and Scherzer in 3 games to finalize it. However, it looks like at this point as we're recording, Houston's up 7-3 in the 5th. A lot can happen. There's still, 5 innings? That's 15 outs for Houston to get. A lot can happen between now and then. But I think Texas needed to win this game, because if you go down and lose 2 games in your home building to the team that you just took 2 home games from, and you see what the record is for the Astros on the road this year, and in your own building, the Astros are your daddy. I mean, when a team outscores you in your home building 71-37 in the first, so they played 13 and then 14. So 14 games, the Astros have scored 71 runs, and you've only scored 37 in your own ballpark. That's not 14, my bad. So what was it? It was 8 games. The Astros are basically scoring 10 runs a game at Globe Life Field.
Jeez.
So you needed to prove that you could win in your home building against the Astros, and they haven't been able to do that. I don't know if they're going to do it in Game 5 versus Verlander. And as Michael mentioned, Framber already got his crap game out of the way. So, and they've got, the pedigree of the Astros, right? Like, just when you count them out, they seemingly prove you wrong. So
just like the division.
I think it's Houston in 6.
Yeah, it was hard for you to say that.
Yeah,
that Houston was going to win.
I picked them to win last year. I don't want them to. Obviously, I like parity, man. Like, unless it's the Cubs, I like parity. I want there to be new blood. I would love to see a Rangers and Phillies World Series.
Well, Rangers, if it was that, we're going to do that. Rangers and Diamondbacks.
But Philly didn't win last year. That's the thing. Like,
but they were there.
Yeah, but they were there. I get it. But, man, so here we go. They just showed it up. 2-0 with a 2.08 ERA in the playoffs this year for Jordan Montgomery. And the only games he gave up the only game he gave up a run, I believe, was Game 2 versus the Orioles. And he gave up 4 in 4 innings. And other than that, he's been lights out. So is this the game that he blows up in Game 5? I don't know. That's the question. I don't know what his statistics are in Texas, like at home versus on the road, because the games that this is his first playoff game in Texas, because the first 2 games he pitched were on the road, and again, first one on the road against Houston.
Right.
I don't know.
But all right, so if Montgomery goes Game 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're tied 2-2, and they win the game at Globe Life with Montgomery, then you have Nathan Eovaldi for Game 6 against Framber, who hasn't been great. I think I'm going Eovaldi on that game.
I would think Verlander beats Montgomery. I think they're going to see Montgomery a second time. Houston is good. They're going to see a pitcher for the second time, where Verlander just is Verlander.
So Verlander,
get from him, man. I don't know what you're gonna get.
From Verlander?
Yeah.
Okay, so through 2 playoff games this year, he's gone 6 innings, no earned runs, and then 6 2/3, 2 earned runs. So he's only given up 2 runs the entire playoffs in 12 2/3 of an inning. His ERA is less than 1. Well, no, it's just over 1.
But he's not great.
He's got 11 strike. Like, what do you mean he's not?
I was mimicking Wes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
he's Justin Verlander to me. I mean,
yeah. I feel good. I feel good that Verlander takes it from Montgomery, but Nasty Nate versus Framber, I think I would lean Nasty Nate.
I mean, if you go back to Verlander's last 4 starts, so the first one, September 5th versus Seattle, 8 innings, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. Then the final game of the season, no, second to the last game of the season, Arizona Diamondbacks, playoff team, 5 innings pitched, no earned runs. Then he did 6 no earned runs, and then 6 2/3, 2 earned runs. So he's given up 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts, which span, quick math, 25 2/3 of an inning. That's vintage Justin Verlander right there.
He just doesn't get the strikeouts he used to. You see Justin Verlander with 12 strikeouts.
Right. Yeah.
But
I mean, the most he's got this year, 9 versus Boston, August 22nd, and that's it. So, yeah, he's not racking up double digits like he used to, and maybe that's where you get him, but that Astros defense is pretty good too.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? What do we got?
No, I've got my pushers, my questions out there.
Any questions, Wes? Any hypotheticals?
I'm sure we'll see something completely unexpected.
Is this Hunter Brown?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
now talking that through, you could see Houston, Texas go to a game 7. So let's say they split 5 and 6, like we're just saying, Verlander and Nasty Nate. So now game 3 or game 7, you're back to
Javier.
Christian Javier and
Max
Max
Scherzer.
Scherzer. What do you like there?
Javier, he's proven it over a longer time, and I don't know if I could trust Scherzer with the injury. Right, you're coming off of. How does he feel today? How does he feel tomorrow? Right, days
Is
1
he
and day
honest
2.
too? Is he honest?
Right.
Is he actually a little off, but he wants to be in the moment, and he's going to put himself out there? That's what I feel. That he's actually not 100. He's not 90%. He's like maybe 75%, but he wants to be out there and believes in himself. But he just
I'd
doesn't.
still take a 75% Scherzer over
a bullpen game.
Some of the other guys that you're throwing out there.
Yes.
But I mean, they're trying to make a comeback. So no outs here in the bottom of the 5th, and Texas has runners on 1st and 2nd. Like I said, there's a lot of time left to go, and now you've got Corey Seager coming up to the plate. It's going to be I'm just hoping for some good baseball. Like I said, as we open this up, that Phillies Diamondbacks game was probably the best game of the playoffs so far, and it took us to what? That was the first walk-off win in the playoffs this year?
Yes.
So, I mean, this is the 3rd round, and that was game 3 of the NLDS or NLCS. So, man.
Yeah.
Again, who's the team to beat? Is it the Phillies?
Yes.
I think it is.
They're so well-rounded.
Phillies
they're the Atlanta Braves of the regular season.
Yeah, like they just have the most complete team at this point.
I think they have the stud 1 and 2 that they're going to get you 2 wins.
And you got a guy who's your number 3 who showed you time and time. Oh, what a play by Bray. Double play. Wow. You can't blame Marcus on that one.
All right.
Or did they call him safe? I don't know. I'm not listening to his son, so I don't know what just happened. I thought he got him.
Replay right here.
They must have called him safe. Did Abreu miss him? All right. Sorry. For those of you listening on a podcast, there was a line drive by Corey Seager with runners on first and second to Jose Abreu. Simeon was caught off of first base, and a foot race. It looks like the tag missed him. Oh, it got his batting gloves. It got his right batting glove. Look at his ass cheek.
Yeah.
And that's part of your uniform. I think he's going to be out because I think it got his batting glove because you see the fingers on his batting glove go side to side.
Yeah.
He's going to get out on a double play by 6 inches.
Wow.
Because if you don't have your batting gloves in your back pocket, you're safe. Yep. Wow.
One finger of the batting glove.
You know what finger it was? The Castellanos one.
That's right.
Wow. He's out. He's out. That is the call, and I think that's how we're going to end this podcast. Wow. That's a turn of events. Simeon doubled off on first base, and there are now 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th. As we leave you with this on Barrels and Barrels, a Bourbon and Baseball podcast, the Rangers down 7-3 here in the bottom of the 5th inning as the Houston Astros look to try to tie the series. I mean, I'd be fine with a 2-2 series just because it means that it makes it more likely that we have a Game 7. We have not seen a single series go the distance. No. We've not seen a single series. Hell, we've had 6 out of the 8 have been sweeps.
Right.
That part of it just is kind of like irritating.
The wild card round was very.
But there were some good games. It was just lackluster, I guess is what I would say. So I guess before we let everybody go, I just got another topic that popped in my head. What do we think of the rules in the playoffs? As in the new rules that we came into the season with. Pitch clock, the bigger bases, the shift. I don't think I've seen until, was it last night? I think last night that was the first time that we had a pitch clock violation that I noticed while watching games. I haven't watched every game, but I've watched the majority of them. And I think last night was the first time I saw a pitch clock violation called. That hasn't come into play at all.
Yeah, I don't even you don't even notice the pitch clock or the bases really at all. I think the shift obviously it's created a little more entertaining defense because you're seeing athletes be more athletic, instead of just Kyle Schwarber grounding into the shift. So that's enjoyable from the defensive side of it. I'm disappointed that we don't see more stolen bases because I thought we would, but
in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was hoping there'd be a lot more action. I feel like last year there was more stolen bases than there have been in this playoffs.
Freaking Kyle Schwarber had like 4 stolen bases last year.
Yeah. In one series, right?
Yeah.
So
he had 2 in one game.
I guess that'll be the interesting thing going forward is will we see a game decided by something with the new rules or not? We haven't seen it yet, and I don't think we've seen one all year outside of the spring training walk-off pitch clock violation. I think the Guardians, right, in like the 9th inning or whatever it was. But we haven't seen that come into play yet, and I don't think it will. But that'll be something to watch the next couple of weeks as we've got a week and a half left of baseball. 2 weeks left, 3 weeks, 2.5.
It goes into November.
November 6th. Is it the 4th the final game, or is it the 6th the final game this year?
Our sheet says the 4th.
Okay, then is the 4th. So yeah, today's the 19th, or is it the 20th?
Today's the 19th.
Yep. 19th.
So we've got 12 days left of October, and then so we've got 16 days left of baseball, which is kind of depressing to think about.
Yeah, that's sad.
So, but it should be theoretically the best baseball there is yet to play. So let's hope and pray for that. And as we let you go, this has been Barrels and Barrels, a Bourbon and Baseball podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below as we are looking to get to 1,000 subscribers, a big milestone. And if we get there, we'll be doing a giveaway here shortly. So hopefully be tuned in for that. Once we get to 1,000, we'll find something to give away for you. As far as our Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, find that at Barrels and Barrels Pod. Twitter, I guess that's X now. Barrels and Barrels. Find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and Google Podcasts. Don't forget to hit the review button. Rate us. We're 20 out of 25 star reviews on Apple, 14 out of 14 5-star on Spotify. And you can find our t-shirts and our memorabilia, or whatever you want to call it, over at Charlie Mike Never Weekend. And you can also get Whiskey Weather shirts now on charliemikeneverweekend.com if you'd like. Glassware also on our Linktree bio in our YouTube. So, or not YouTube. Well, it is on YouTube, but it's also through our IG. And again, this was brought to you by WhiskeyTowers.com. Use promo code WhiskeyWeather, all caps, at WhiskeyTowers.com for 10% off your order. Any final words, gentlemen? Michael.
Nope. Just let's go.
And done.